on, everybody? Welcome back to NFL Draft Live. Jake Shavink here. Nate Williamson was upgraded to questionable as of this morning. He is ready to go. Nate, how are you feeling, first off? Tell the good people how you're doing.
I'm good, man. I just a little off yesterday, had a bit of a fever, and back at it now. Just like when I'm sick, I'm like more tired than normal, which is still like normal's really tired.
Yes.
So now I'm more like back to normal, really tired. If that makes sense. Just like
adulting is
tiredness.
Tired. Yeah. Adulting is eternally tired.
It is.
I get that.
I don't think it ever gets better.
No. I refuse to believe it. But we got a great show for you guys today. Let us be the 71st and 72nd. Yes, I counted people to wish you guys happy draft month. It's April. The draft is here, kind of. And it feels like this will be like that countdown to Christmas type of thing where, you kind of just, there's so much build up to this event now in April, and there's just so much to get done. And we'll have to go through some painstaking take cycles as we always have to do during this time. But Nate, this crossed my mind this afternoon. I want to bring it up before we start breaking down the deep wide receiver class. Should there be an advent calendar for the draft? I feel like there should be. And so, like, what do you get in the advent calendar for the draft? Like, that's what I'm trying to wonder. Like, do you get like these do you get like the sayings? So like you get devotions, right, in some advent calendars for Christmas. So like when you have a draft one, is there like one you open, it's like trust the tape? And that's all it says? Is that like one of the first ones you get on there? And then there's one like down the way. It was like
it builds up off of that.
Yeah. And then there's
the last day, you choose like a team, right? So you choose your team.
Your team. Oh.
Every year the last thing changes.
Ooh.
And this first year, what's going to be in that advent calendar is a team draft hat.
Oh, advent calendar. I don't know if people want the team draft hat in the advent calendar. I'm not going to lie. I feel like people don't. I feel like people don't want that.
They won't know until they have it. One day has got to be like a Senior Bowl notebook.
So in a Packers advent calendar for the draft, is there going to be one for like Packers fans that's like it's early on, be like, this is the year, wide receiver round 1, we've got it. And then like the 24th or 25th, it's in there like psych, in quotes, Brian Gutekunst in there. Is that what's going to happen to the Packers advent calendar?
Well, I think the actual it has to be like longer than the average advent calendar because there has to be an April Fool's joke for every franchise, right? Like for the Falcons on April 1st, it just says 28-3 on a piece of paper.
Wow, you're going to 28-3 on a draft cap.
For the Saints, it's Taysom Hill signs a multi-million-dollar quarterback contract.
Sure.
For the Packers, it's a wide receiver in round 1.
That's just rude. But
for the Colts, it's Andrew Luck unretiring.
I feel like we have an idea here. And with not that many people watching at the beginning, this might be our idea. We should try next year draft team-specific advent calendars. You're welcome, America. Anyway, so speaking of the whole
idea,
I think it does. So speaking of Packers not drafting one of these things in the first round, we're going to talk about the wide receiver class today, and it's going to be a loaded show. Really, we're going to give our rankings 1 through 5, and then we're going to go into as many as we can get to in time constraint of about an hour or so. So we're going to start things off. And Braden says this is his favorite position. I agree. It's time. It's my favorite. And it's the one I put the most work into and still am wrong. So that's always a really comforting thought.
I would say this is my worst. I'm terrible with receivers. Like I'm openly terrible at watching receivers.
Well, if Nate's admitting that, and we had a conversation, he's like, what's your top 5 look like? And I put my top 5, and he goes, mine's totally different. And now that you're saying, oh, you're terrible, I just feel a little bit better inside about myself because that's what it's about, right?
Should.
Being right. No.
I'm honestly not. No. I do not like scouting receivers. It's something I think you've known. I like corner out of the skill positions.
Tough.
I like corner, quarterback, and I really like the lineman.
You do like the lineman. This is true. Nate's going to be giddy when we do the lineman here in a week or two.
It's very fun.
Guaranteed. It's going to be a blast. But
I'm going to be like today, grilling a steak or something while we cook that, just so I can
perfect. I need all the draft idioms that you have for offensive linemen. Look them up. Get everything in there. So yeah, let's dive in, Nate. I don't know how we want to do this. Do you want to alternate 1 through 5 and start and just kind of go from there? Do you want to kind of give your 5 and talk about all of them and play off, or do you want to skip back and forth, do 1, 1, 2, 2, or we want to start from 5? Let's
do that, but we don't necessarily like have to, kind of like what we did last time where we don't dive deep on a guy twice.
Sure. I'm going to say we do 1 to 5 because I think it plays well as like, we're going to do the rankings first anyway. Then we'll get into all the like, okay, 6 through 10, who do you like here? Like round 2, round 3, who do you like? And we'll get to the deep sleepers and all that stuff. So we're going to start with our top 5 receivers right now.
Yeah.
Subject to change. I'm doing a few different grading scales for receivers. See which ones I like best this cycle. And it's, of course, just the perfect one to do it because there's no tip-top guy, of course. Can't be this time, just like that would be nice. But I'll probably go through and put those top 3 boys from last year who I think all agree are fantastic into that bottle. See how it goes. But top 5 wide receivers. I'm going to start with my number 1, Nate. It's Ohio State wide receiver Garrett Wilson for me. And for me, it's just it's an easy way to kind of divvy the 3 parts of the receiver position up. It's like, what does he do pre-catch? What does he do at the catch? And what does he do post-catch? And there's obviously a ton of things that go into those 3. But when you look at Garrett Wilson, what he does, and I do think there is, I will say pre-catch, before the catch, there is like a pacing issue. I understand where people are coming from, the whole TikTok thing. I think it's just kind of a weird term to throw out there, but whatever. Like, I get it. Yeah. Sometimes his pacing is off, and that's going to like create that kind of rhythm issues for quarterbacks. So I understand that. I do think though, the way he can get off of press, how laterally quick he moves off the line of scrimmage, how flexible he is, and the burst he has in a short area, I think is fine. I think it's going to do well against press. And I think when you have the hip sync that he does, when you have, when you can re-stem inside to out, outside to in, and attack blind spots at corners, get them to open up because you're explosive enough, be able to sink the hips, like I said, and be efficient. And then at the catch point, he does not play like he's 183 pounds.
No.
He goes up and gets the ball. Like, he is not afraid. He looks like he has a jetpack on sometimes. And, great hands, plucks the football. And so, like, for me, in post-catch, I don't think he's, like, great per se. I think he's good in short area burst line, but he can sink the hips and he can kind of be slippery. I think slippery rather than saying he's dominant after the catch, but he's slippery. So for me, it's like all 3 of those areas he's good at, and I don't see a true weakness. So that's why he's my top guy.
Yeah, no, I think those are all super valuable. My entire response to the pacing thing, how many times with as involved as we are, even not when you discount like our level of analysis, which is like not working for a major team, not working for a major network, right? Not yet. In your case, like one of these things, like how many times in your career covering have you heard that come up as an issue for a wide receiver? Pacing.
I know one of them.
I can think of maybe 2.
I know one of them. Weird nitpick. Believe it or not, I know one of them.
And who was the first? Who was that?
He's a darn good player right now, Nate. Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Did the same thing, people. He did the same thing. And maybe not to the level, because he is downright scary efficient when he sinks and changes direction. Yes. It's absurd. But I do think he's kind of in that vein of Jefferson, Diggs, some of these guys who kind of do a little bit, maybe too much at the line of scrimmage. So I understand. But when you can do what he can do in all 3 phases, it's hard for me to put anybody above him, because I still think, there's a little bit of ceiling left to his game as well, where he can be even a little more refined as a receiver.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think that is kind of what I'm saying, is when you hear that, it's like they're nitpicking that out of all of the issues that there could be. And I just don't think that's a reasonable reason to drop him like super far. He's not, I'm not going to tell you where he is on mine, but he essentially, I see people that have dropped him from one mock that you'll read from 1 or 2, maybe 3 down to 5 or past that. And I think that's such a small
thing. That's kind of wild to me. Outside top 5 is a weird deal.
Yeah. Well, okay. So
there's real quick, there's a certain major site who has him, I think 6. And there's a guy ahead of him who is in top 5 who might not even be my top 10, and we'll get to him. But I just want to point that out. There's like the level of like range we have this year is nuts.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Go for it.
The top 7-ish guys in this class there's a lot of range depending on what a team is going to want out of them.
Oh,
to
100%.
say this is a class where there's a generational prospect is just not true that we know of. Like a clear cut, like guy we say, okay, generational. Like across the board, there isn't exactly one of those. What there is this is a solid, super good. There's a lot of going to be wide receiver ones come out of this class, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But there's just not that guy that we're looking at that's like, oh, wow, like clear cut top. Like I think a lot of the top guys are pretty flexible for who we'll see go off the board first.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, of course, when we do big boards, it doesn't matter who's going to go off the board first. But
Mm-hmm.
because Jahan Dotson's probably going to go off the board early for certain teams, but I don't have him in my top 5.
Me either, man. Me either, brother. Mitch says 183 now after 10 games, he won 76. It's funny. Yeah, the smaller, and we're gonna have to. And this shift is gonna happen. These smaller receivers they're gonna be small receivers that are gonna be really good players in the NFL. So we're gonna have to So the size thing I get to a degree. And they're always going to be exceptions. See Devonta Smith, dude's unbelievable player. Probably my favorite player I've ever scouted. But like the 183, 187, which is another guy that I'm assuming we're going to get to pretty soon here. But like, if you can do so many things in terms of separating as a route runner or has the speed or whatnot, like at some point, teams that are playing off coverage, you can learn the hand technique. You can learn how to dip around guys. There's stuff you can learn when you're that size. Mm-hmm. When you're as good as Wilson is in the 3 phases, that's just where I'm at with him. And I agree with Braden. There's not a lot of true wide receiver ones. There are a lot of 2s and 3s that are going to make an impact in this class. And that's why people are like, this is deep. I know some people some people in the fall were kind of like, oh, there might be 5 dudes that go up last year's top 5 dudes. I'm like, I don't think so. But
no, I don't either.
It rounded out that way. I think people are more accepted
in this class.
I don't think there's a Devonta Smith.
No,
and I like Garrett, and I like Garrett Wilson. I don't think he reaches Smith or Jefferson, but I like him.
You remember how we were talking, not us specifically, but back last year, everyone was talking about him about he's like 163 pounds soaking wet. There's no way he's going to be a good NFL wide receiver.
No, and I remember, when we talked about this too, it was like, okay, if you're in an NFL front office, are you betting on the outlier or are you going to take like Chase or Waddle, who are a little bit, bigger size? And we kind of talked about this.
Sure.
It's kind of like, I threw it on the island. I'm like, screw it. I'm Smith wide receiver 1 till I die, man. That's just where I'm going to be at. Like Chase and Waddle are right there. I think they're all interchangeable, but like, yeah, we had the same conversation. We had it with him. Oh, BMI, it's bad.
Yeah.
Don't care. I've never seen a dude
do not care
that gets as wide as he can on releases and get upfield as fast as he can in that short amount of time. It's nuts. So like the Devonta Smith discourse was wild last year. Anyway, Nate, you're number 1.
Yeah, my number 1. My number 1 is actually Chris Olave out of Ohio State. Just a guy that I caught on to really early. Not making a full. I don't do player comparisons just because I don't believe in them fundamentally. For the most part, there's some guys that are obvious, but a lot of Mike Thomas in his game. And that's just an Ohio State comparison, as well as this man is a route technician in the truest sense. Just a guy who has a lot of football IQ, but has that ability to still get separation and really get out there. There's just so much to like about his game and how it translates into certain offenses. Like, I think he could have that kind of like Michael Thomas, like not going to blow you with speed, but those routes he runs are awesome. And Ohio State wide receivers that can run routes have a pretty good history and track record. But, overall, one of those position guys that is, I think, going to impress the next level.
I agree. I mean, I think the speed's there. I think the speed's there, really.
I think it's there more than Michael
He
Thomas.
doesn't even look like when he runs deep, it doesn't look like he's running hard.
Yeah.
Like he's the guy where you kind of can tap on the gas pedal and it won't like jolt you or anything. It's like the type of car you can just kind of lean in that gas and it's smooth. The smooth speed. But yeah, I agree. The in stem like little creativity that he has is so much fun. So I'm with you. Darn good tracker too, Nate. Darn good tracker of the football.
Yes.
Really good.
He is going to be one of those guys, like at minimum, like guy that you throw in the A or the Z slot just to get open. And once again, who am I drawing that close to? Who turned out to actually be a dang good wide receiver is Michael Thomas when he's healthy. Yeah. They might be slant boy number 2 after we see him. I think he can run a bit of route tree probably, but it'll be interesting. I love him, but I hope he gets a good landing spot that knows how to use him in the appropriate way. That's the thing.
Yeah, 100%. I think at the very least with him, you are getting this extremely good Z wide receiver 2. You can put him on the back. I think the play strength is obviously the biggest thing for him because he doesn't have like long arms to where he's like he can get out. The hand technique has to be really, really good at times. But like, man, stretch field, track ball, see ball, catch ball, like just like you said, the route tree's absurd, and his ability to ID coverage is so good. Love that. Braden, I believe it was 4.39 for Olave at the combine. I think Wilson's was 4.38. I want to say. So I think they were right there, both sub 4.4 beasts at the receiver position. So moving right along, I'm going to go number 2 here, and it's Treylon Burks for me. And there's so much to unpack with Treylon Burks, isn't there? Just like this is the definition of an upside receiver. And what I mean by upside is, and I've looked at what some call upside, and I love what they call it. It's the athleticism and traits are there. The mental game needs a bunch of this work. And with Burks, it's like, okay, there's examples of this. And I'm gonna pull up the one that reigns in my brain is Texas A&M. There's a guy inside leverage on him. He's in the slot. And Burks, what do you have to do? He knows he's running the over route. He knows he's running it in. He's crossing over the middle of the field. Burks has to be able to move that defender. You have to be able to use your eyes, your head, your shoulders. Give me something. With your speed, sell me vertical for a few steps. Get up to speed and sell me vertical. Move that defender out. Use your hands. You're big. Move him out the way, and you have open space. But instead, he just kind of runs the route to the spot, and it's like, okay, well, against guys, if you're going to be outside receiver, if you're going to be an X for me, can't do that. You have to be able to ID coverage and attack where you need to attack to open space. And like he just doesn't do that right now. It's all over the place in terms of the mental side of this. And so putting him at 2, though, he's big and he's fast. And he's a nightmare to tackle. And when he can always commit OPI at the catch point to create space for himself, like, and he doesn't even, and like the contested catches aren't even that big of a thing for him because I feel like he doesn't elevate as high as he should, as I feel like he should elevate. There are some instances where he does, but there are some where it's kind of like, okay, the defender's just in a bad position because you put him there basically to win, which is good. And then after the catch, it's like this he's Debo and AJ Brown, like molded into a singular human after the catch. Like this is a nightmare.
If you could give him Drake London's hops, the man would be
That's what I mean. Like if you could give Drake London Burks' explosiveness.
Yeah.
And you could give London, if you could give London Burks. Oh, I know. The two of them are just missing this one thing. It's like if London had the explosiveness and if Burks could the ID coverage worth a darn. Both of these guys are excellent, and they be my 1 and 2 because they're just missing that one element that really could set them over the top. So
super clear 1 and 2 if that were the case.
Yes, 100%. And so like for Burks, for me, it's what he's going to be great at is if the Packers draft him, Rodgers will just be like, hey, I'm throwing you smoke route. Like I used to Devontae right away. I'm throwing you smoke route. You're getting 8, 10, 15 yards because nobody can tackle you and you're fast. Like it's going to be dependent. He's going to have to get the touches that, again, our gadget are just beat this dude down the field. And he's good against press because he's big and he's fast and he can get downfield. Like he's good against that. It's coverage ID. It's the mental side for him.
Yes.
So I'm done ranting, but like, holy cow. If Burks could just please pre-catch, do something for me, something, then we're good. We're golden. We're moving on. And so, like, I get it why some of the fantasy community's like, listen, this dude's big. This dude's fast. I don't care about what he ran in his underwear in a laser time thing where you're out of a stance that an edge rusher's in as a receiver. Don't care. The leaping ability is a little concerning, though. So that's kind of something to watch, I think, for him. But, man, explosive, big, yak monster. Has the most yards after catch per reception of anybody in this class. Like, and that's where the league is moving to. So, how can you not want him in like the Jets, the Packers? Like, just, oh my gosh.
I'm going to be honest with you here. I put as much stock into the 40 at the combine as a Tinder girl does to a guy that's holding a fish in his profile picture. I just fundamentally will not adhere
fair.
that as a
fair.
mark of speed. It's great. Some of these guys are track athletes. You should be able to run that pretty well.
100%.
Some of these guys can barely run in a straight line on a 40 because they're so freaking nervous. Like I would be too if I'm out there running in my underwear, deciding my own future.
I always go back to like when I'm like thinking like, oh, I could run the 40 or whatever. And I think, oh, like when people go, I can hit a golf shot in front of 15,000 people. I promise you, I was in a playoff in high school where there were like 100 kids my age watching. My heart, I felt like it wasn't in me anymore.
Yeah.
There's nothing with the audience at the biggest job interview of your life. You have to run this 40. Like you've obviously trained for it, but it's just a different animal. So yeah, I get it. 40s, screw them.
I'm the type of human that when I was in high school, my legs shook in the batter's box. I was fine, but I couldn't control it. You know, I could not do anything of what these guys do.
Nerves are real. 100%.
I will admit that till the day I die.
Yep.
Anyway, we're not going to
we got a two, Nate.
On my number 2, it's Jameson Williams. We kind of talked about him. Bama guy. Just had some loaded wide receiver rooms while he was there, or I think we'd be talking a lot more about him. You know, he's a zero.
Had to sit behind all of the Ohio State guys.
Yeah. He's a zero slot guy, smooth routes, can catch a deep ball pretty well, good to track those long passes. Guy that I think is going to have a pretty good future, even if it's just a guy that, you know, is a 2 or a 3 that rolls out there and, you know, gets you 10, 15 yards on a catch.
If I could throw a comp his way, I would throw the comp out for Top Thrill Dragster, the roller coaster at Cedar Point that you go 0 to 120 in 3.8. That's like literal comp for Jameson Williams because that's what it is. You don't see humans don't accelerate like that.
No,
they don't do it. That's not a normal thing. That is a special thing that he can do. That it's crazy. So yeah, I'm there. And I'll tell you what, he's got the bigger frame, expand the target zone for some QBs. He'll go make some catches low. I'm impressed when speedy dudes can do that. I'm with you. I think the biggest knock is like is play strength. Of course, I'd like to see a little bit more from him in terms of a release package because if he faces press, he's going to face these big corners. You got to give me a little more something. I get it because you're in the SEC. Even in the SEC, you can blow by dudes.
Yeah,
like when you have that, when you're him, you can do that. When you are him, you can do that. When you are, Jamar Chase, you can do that. Like there are certain guys that just can blow by guys and they don't have to totally worry about the little things at the line of scrimmage because they're just that fast or that strong. Like he is that. I do think him gearing down in something. So when you gear down on those hits, those comeback routes, even on the, the deep digs, you got to gear down 3 to 4 yards is usually pretty good gear down. And 3 to 4 steps is usually pretty good in and out. I think for me, it's just it's a little bit too much. It's like 5 or 6 yards. It's kind of what Ruggs did and when he was in college. It's just a few too many steps. Now, that can easily be fixed. Why? Because he sinks his hips. Ruggs did not sink his hips worth a darn.
Right.
So Williams could do that. So when Williams gets into NFL and when he gets healthy, they're going to be like, all right, we know you can gear down. Just work on your steps for me. In and out, and you're golden.
Yeah, it's going to be a matter of just show us what you have. And
when he's healthy, man. Chargers, do it. Chargers. Pick him. There's your Z downfield, done. Or the same.
Charging that extra 6 or 7 yards downfield. That's what you mean.
He can run. I bet you he can run faster than Herbert can get the ball down the field. And there's
probably true.
Not many guys who could do that. So, hey, I love it, Nate. I love it. Olave, Jameson Williams. There's a lot of Ohio State in here.
Jake, I have something that just to break it up before we get to the back half of this that I saw earlier today.
What's up?
That you need to know about.
Okay.
Pizza Hut is introducing a new pizza that has pineapple
and cheese
in the crust.
Pizza Hut does that of all places. All right.
Right.
We'll talk after.
Anywho, I saw that earlier and it just came to my brain that you needed to know that.
All right. There you go. That's delicious.
Not an ad.
Love that.
Unless you want it to be an ad, Pizza Hut.
Yeah, Pizza Hut wanted non-spawn. What would love to be if you're going to put pineapple in crust.
Thanks.
Speaking of something that's just darn good, like pineapple, my number 3, Chris Olave. Just darn good, man. Just darn good at what he does.
Just darn
I don't
number
think I have to.
one.
Yeah, I don't think I have to really go in deep because Nate talked about him. But like again, just when you have easy speed, when you're just extremely aware of coverage, you've seen everything you can when you played at Ohio State. Like you sink the hips, you get out your routes quick, you get out those breaks. And what I love is he'll throw a little extra sauce in some of the mid route stem where he'll drop the hips, he'll chop the feet, and he'll say, all right, yeah, I'm gonna run this stop route. No, I'm actually running the go. No, now I'm running the comeback.
Yep.
He'll mess with your head. He'll mess with your head as a DB. And that's, I love those type of guys. Again, guy that Aaron Rodgers would, he'd like him. I think Aaron Rodgers would like him. Just saying. Goody, if you're listening, Aaron Rodgers would like this guy. I do think after the catch, there's not much there, unfortunately for him. And that's kind of where I think he's a little bit behind guys like Burks and Wilson for me. I think Wilson's a little more slippery and can do more after the catch, but don't care. This guy, I think, has kind of hit his ceiling, unfortunately. But the ceiling is it's possible wide receiver 1, but I think he's just this elite wide receiver 2 in an era where you need 3 or 4. And elite wide receiver 2 is going to be great. So that's where he's at for me. For 3. That's all I got.
All right. Well, my 3 we've already talked about as well. It's Burks out of Arkansas.
There you go.
So pretty similar, out of the top 3. But one more thing, one thing I love to note about Burks, a guy who stayed home in Arkansas, was the top player in Arkansas out of his draft class. Cool story. The body positioning is there. The slot kind of, backfield where he's lined up as well. I like him in an NFL offense because I think he can do a lot of different things. And I hear that a lot about a lot of these wide receivers. And I think to a point that's true.
Yeah.
But Burks can do these things. Like he's not able to, he can do them. Like there's no hoping. Like I truly believe he could do it. And I think we'll see it at the next level, him in some weird formations and stuff.
I'm so glad Burks is coming out now.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say. Because if he came out in like 07, 08,
it would.
People be like,
there's no reason.
What do we do with this guy? I have no idea what to do with him. Look at all these touches he's getting in college. I'm not creative enough.
Yeah.
That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like he's never going to fall the Niners, but the Niners, you know what he'd do there. You know what he's doing.
So
you know what he'd do in Miami with McDaniel. You know what he'd do it. Yeah. So like again, Packers. I do think Bills to a fault because they can just throw him in the slot and just be like, hey, yeah, we're going to throw you these quick ones. Just get like 15 after the catch for us. Tennessee, love him there. AJ Brown, like there's so many places where he can land where I'm like, I feel confident. Philly, maybe not so much. That I probably would not like to see him go there, but I love him. Good.
There's a lot of creativity to be had with him.
I love Burks.
For sure.
I do love that Nate pointed out that he's like, yeah, I'm staying in Arkansas. That just to me has some like mentality to it that I'm like, man, this dude's got like a mentality that I like, I feel like. And Braden did say this when we mentioned Olave, that Brian Hartline is the best. He is. Brian Hartline still has, even after Olave and Wilson leave, he still has Jackson Smith and Jigba, Amika Guka, and Marvin Harrison Jr. CJ Stroud, you got a nice little room for yourself next year as you boost your stock for 2023, buddy. So, Hartline.
I am completely against player comparisons. I am. I promise. I've made 2 of them already, counting this one.
What do you got?
Maybe not as productive. Alshon Jeffrey for Burks.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting. Big and fast.
Yeah.
I mean,
and just able to work that body so well. Yeah. That sounds so wrong. Anyway, just like the body positioning, the ability to get to the ball. Yeah. Just so solid.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. What I do and what that's why the jargon and stuff is so funny to me when we talk about like players. Because like I just remember like bubble butt being a thing when Mayock was on like the NFL Network broadcast. I'm like, brother, what are we doing?
Mayock's just a weird dude.
He is, but
just a weird dude.
I was listening to the Ringer Draft Show, and they were doing the jargons and a lie thing. I don't know if you've seen that or listened to that, Nate, where they tell you 2 draft jargons and one's a lie. They tell you 3, one's a lie. And apparently, a taffy pole is something that Mayock said a lot. and I don't remember it, but it's like when the defensive and offensive line are engaged, but nobody moves. It's like a taffy pull. You're kind of stretching it around, whatever. It's so weird. The stuff that we talk about in this is odd. But okay, so your 3 was Burks. My 4, Nate, is Drake London from USC. Oh man, Drake London and the talk around him gives me a headache because there's two camps, and the first camp is like, man, this guy can't separate. And I'm like, okay, first of all, in what phase cannot he separate?
Sure.
There are, I'd say 1.5, you could say. He's never winning with speed.
No.
So if you're saying he's not Jameson Williams, well,
true.
Guess what? Not a lot of people are Jameson Williams.
No.
If he, as a route runner, here's where I'll give you some leeway. I do think when he's running you're running these quick ins, square ins, you're running the slant route, like he can beat press and he can be efficient. And I do think he doesn't have offer hip sync necessarily, but it's enough to where he can be efficient in the turn. You're kind of like, oh, wow, I didn't think he's lanky. He turned like that. Like I see it. So, but if you're going to ask him, okay, I need you to win this backside dig for me away from my bunch coverage, then I'm kind of like, okay, maybe you've got a point here. I understand where you're coming from. This isn't like, but again, part of separation is, again, it doesn't, we kind of define it as a route runner because that's where we like, that's kind of our home base for a lot of people is like, oh, route runner separation. No. Okay. This dude can vertically separate, by the way.
Yes.
He leaps out of gym. He played basketball at USC. He played basketball at USC. He didn't play basketball not just in high school, at USC. So
it was pretty freaking good.
Yeah. So like leaping ability, and I get it. The contested guys, some of us hate them. We hate their guts. And some people are never going to let N'Keal Harry go, Nate. They're never going to let him go. Why? Great hands, one at the catch point, one after the catch. Oh, gee, what does London do? Good hands, wins at the catch point. It's pretty darn good after the catch. So people are going to like talk themselves into N'Keal Harry. Here's my favorite thing about London. He's 20.
Yeah.
He's 20 right now.
Yep.
So, oh man, if he's 22 or 23, then I'd be like, okay. Then I'd be a little concerned. So that's where I get the concern. USC receivers never pan out. What? Juju Smith-Schuster has been a very good receiver. Robert Woods has been a very good receiver. Amon-Ra St. Brown was very, very good last year as a rookie. Michael Pittman Jr. is doing very, very well in Indianapolis. So they definitely do. They definitely pan out. That's the other thing, the helmet thing. Don't do that. Mitch, I love you. I appreciate you being on. The helmet thing, we got to be careful. Because I guarantee we're going to do it all next year when we have a Bama quarterback and an Ohio State quarterback. Great. I'm so excited for those.
Joe Burrow's in Ohio State.
I'm getting off my absolute.
So your 4 was Drake London.
Drake London. Again, like I said, good at the catch point. I think he does well underneath the separator. You can get him the ball in the quick game. He can win after the catch for you. He's going to break tackles. Another guy who, like I said, I get it. And that's kind of why he's a little lower for me. That's why he's my 4, but I do think the potential to be an X receiver is there, to be number 1, because he's only 20. Just saying. So go ahead, Nick. Number 4, what you got for me?
My 4 is Drake London.
Perfect. So Nate, you can comment. You can say something about him. You didn't really say.
I got it all out. The only thing I have to add that we didn't check off here is hops ! Which we touched on and we touched on earlier. But he is a highly touted basketball recruit as well. For the matter, heavily recruited, All-American in high school at one point as an All-American prep. Whatever. But
yeah,
this is insanely good. If he can learn to leverage that, I like his ceiling a lot. I think he has to be a master at that because he's not going to be a master at a lot of other things. And I think that is kind of where he needs to stick his game is even if it's here, give me this smaller cornerback. I'm going to run him vertically up the field and then I'm going to moss the heck out of him. That's still, if you can master that,
still
doing great.
People like that. T. Higgins.
I love that.
T. Higgins. I think which is the best comp for him is T. Higgins. I think maybe Brandon Marshall, somebody brought up. I wouldn't bring up Mike Evans. Mike Evans, I don't think people understand, like, Mike Evans might be able to run under a table. Because his hips he can sink his hips like that. Like, he can run under a table, like Von Miller can.
Draftism.
That's the other thing. Yeah, that is a draftism run under table. The other thing I think London is very good at is actually IDing coverage and IDing where he leverage and where he needs to be and where he's going to move defenders. I actually think he's very good at that. I think his vision in his stem is very good. So that's the other thing. Like he's advanced a little more technically than even I would say Jameson is. Then I would say that for sure. I would say that Burks is right. So he's not Olave level at that, but Olave's 22, 23. At least 22, and Drake London is 20. So that's all I'm going to say about that. That's the last thing I had on London. So, Nate, I know who your number 5. Well, maybe I don't know who your number 5 is.
Maybe you don't. Who do you think it is?
Well, do you have somebody different than the 5? I guess we're going to
find out. I sent you? Or that you sent me?
Yeah.
I don't remember what you sent me at the moment. Hang on.
Well, he's my 1, remember?
Yeah. I think that's the only
he's my 5. Okay, yep. Yeah. So we'll get to our 5s here and go pretty quick. My 5 is Jameson Williams right now. I do think there is an element of this where I go, okay, can this guy be a number 1 receiver? Can I ask him to be an X? I don't think Jameson Williams is an X, but again, like Olave, I think this guy's going to be an elite Z, an elite wide receiver 2 potential. So like he's going to be probably a first rounder for me because again, when you have like legitimately earth shaking, field tilting, mind blowing speed and acceleration in a short area, and when you can sink your hips like he can, there's a lot you can unlock when you have a good wide receiver coach in the NFL. Because what we were talking about earlier when Nate mentioned him as number 2, if he can turn those in and out of breaks a little bit more efficiently, the league is in trouble. Whoever doesn't have him on their team. So again, he'll blow by guys. I good hands. I think his tracking football could be a little bit better in terms of down the field. I do think he gets a little bit out of position at times, just something that came up. But again, like I said, when he's over the middle and he needs to make one out the frame or low or something like that, he can make that play. Mm-hmm. So I think that's another thing that separates him from like a Ruggs or sometimes a Jerry Jeudy as well. If we're going to go through all the Alabama receivers and what they were good at. So I do think the Jameson Williams hype is real. I understand. Like I could see you putting any of these 5 at 1 personally. I think you can put any of these guys at 1 and I would totally understand. So Nate, you want to talk about 5?
Yeah, it's Jameson Williams. Or no, it's not. It's Garrett Wilson.
It's not.
It's Garrett Wilson. You had me confused now for a second there.
I'm convincing Nate to move him back to 5, apparently. I don't know.
One of my little bullet points, I guess is the word I would use, is rack. Somebody who's going to get you a lot of yards after the catch. He's very versatile, and that short span agility is what I really like from Garrett Wilson. I just think there's a lot of room for a guy like that, especially as we say, I got this shorter guy, but he's just going to burn you across the field. It's all good. Yep. Just a guy that quick touches, someone you could work into the offense, pretty decent big playability, but not a consistent home run hitter.
Yeah.
Another draftism. Just in that short to medium field, I really like his RAC, run after catch ability a lot.
Ooh. Okay, we have to get to Braden's rankings, but yeah, I like Wilson a lot, like I said. Okay. This is fun. So I've got Braden, we're going to get to a couple of guys that we left off our top 5, and then we're going to talk sleepers, but Braden says his are Jameson 1, Olave 2, Wilson 3, London 4, Christian Watson at 5. Love that with Watson. The Watson love for me is a little out of hand. We'll talk. Do you want to talk about him first, Nate, or do we want to go to?
You can. I don't even have him written down. I'll comment on.
Okay, let's go to Watson first since Braden brought him up. So for Watson, for me, and I do think this plays into it a little bit, is like, okay, because I was listening to somebody talk about this, is like when you're at that low level, do you just dominate fools?
Yeah.
Do you dominate fools? Right? Because Trey Lance literally ran people over as a runner in college, just like ran people over. He's powerful enough. For me, Watson is again, the speed's off the charts, and they gave him those touches and jet sweeps. He turned them into touchdowns. I think he tracks the ball well. He can win down the field. He's a field stretcher. He's going to open things up for you. My only question is, and I'll add this on, his flexibility looked a lot better at the Senior Bowl than it did on his film. because on his film, it's a similar thing as I was talking about with Jameson Williams. Is when you're gearing down, when he's running, again, even a deep dig route, he is gearing down with like 5 steps, then turning. That is way too much time against NFL DBs. That will not fly. I promise you that. So that's my only thing with him is, can you be more consistent with the release package? Again, he showed he's flexible in the lower half. He won a lot of great reps at the Senior Bowl. I just need to see on the feet, like in an arena where you are not expected to win, I should say, because I feel like the one-on-ones are so difficult for DBs at the Senior Bowl because you have all the space to run, right? Like as a receiver, you could go anywhere really.
Yes.
And it's near impossible. So if you're a corner who did well down there, you're good. So with Watson for me, and then the other thing is he's kind of a hands clapper. There are times where he's getting the ball and he's doing this when the ball is getting there. That's not great. That's not good hand technique. And again, for 6'4", 211, I want to see more catch point production.
Yeah.
That's the other thing with me. So, but here's what I will say. I want to say this too. There are like, I think 8 guys you can put in your top 5 where I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Because with Watson, it's all about ascension and upside with him. Like you're betting on what we've seen through this process. And you're like, okay, this guy's going to take this. Somebody's going to take this and build up. And I totally understand that. And that's where I think, okay, you put him in your top 5. That makes total sense. With that ascension upside thing. I think there are 2 others that you could put there. And actually, one of them is not probably who you think, but we'll get to them. So I do understand the Watson hype. I do understand the Watson hype. Okay, Mitch dropped his 5. If you're in chat here and you want to drop your top 5, why don't you do that? We'll talk. Nate, did you want to talk about Watson?
You hit it. I mean, just a guy that you're betting and hoping that he can adjust to a way higher level of play, and someone you're hoping can show that with the physical prowess, I would use that word, that he showed in his games, that's going to translate at all when he's not the best guy on the field.
Yeah. Because
he won't be the best guy on the field, in my opinion.
To me, I know that's going to be a good Z.
Restricting.
Yeah.
But I would say it's hard to pinpoint any one best player on an NFL field most days.
Yeah.
Other
unless
than
unless your name is Aaron Donald or Patrick Mahomes.
That's what I was
it's probably
say.
like
you're probably not it.
Probably not that guy. But
he could be a top 5 receiver in this class.
Absolutely.
But it might be 3 years down the road.
Absolutely. Yes. I think so again, and I get why Packers fans don't like him being compared to Marquez Valdes-Scantling, because I think he can do a little bit more than Valdes-Scantling can. Just by the way he changes direction, and he was a really good returner, and he was, and you watch him get the scheme touches, what he can do at post catch is way better than Scantling can. But I do think he is still a Z gadget. That's what I'm going to label him as. Yeah. I think he's a very good Z, and you're going to be able to say, okay, we're going to create space in this intermediate short area because this guy can just beat you down the field. He just beat you. So that's great. And so I think you developed this guy, and I completely agree why he can be in your top 5. Mitch put Burks as 1, Sky Moore as 2. I love me some Sky Moore. We're going to talk about him. Chris Olave 3. Jameson Williams 4, Garrett Wilson 5. Like I said, I dig it. Sky Moore is one of those guys. I say you put in your top 5. I get it.
That should translate into our sleepers.
That's a sleeper.
You want to talk about him?
No. I'll move down the board. I'm moving down the board because I want to talk about this guy. I want to talk about this guy first. I want to talk about this guy because there's some stuff going around about this guy. A lot of people grading him highly. A lot of people put him in their top 5, Nate. That would be Jahan Dotson from Penn State.
I mean, Dotson's been in people's top 5s for the last year. I think it's just that they haven't watched him.
Nate's just calling you out.
I mean,
this is one of the guys I would say if you have him in your top 5, I'm kind of baffled. I'm a little baffled.
I've watched a lot about John. I've watched a lot of John Dotson, Big Ten guy. Seen a lot of him.
Nate,
Tired of it, man.
Nate, I'm going to give you a hot take. I'm going to flash this guy's name on the screen, and I'm going to say this guy's better than him, okay? I think he's better.
I wouldn't say that's that hot of a take, honestly.
Okay. That's just
I mean, if you come out here with
rankings,
like Khalil Shakur or somebody.
Okay, no.
It's
He's good. He's actually good. We're
on
gonna
the
talk about
Buffalo
him.
Wild Wings scale. It's probably a medium.
Okay. I'm just saying, like,
which is my favorite.
Dotson. We'll talk about Jahan Dotson. We'll keep it to like 2-3 minutes here. But for me, Dotson, when you look at the three phases, for me, one, I don't think he's that great after the catch, other than a straight line. There are a lot of times where he just catches the ball, turns around, and he's kind of just he just falls down. Don't know what that's about. That could be being 178 pounds, possibly. And then pre-catch, I get it. He's actually got good hip sync. I think though his best routes, Nate, are double moves. That's my concern. Like and this is what, and I was thinking about this. I went through all these guys and like put my spiel. The question I have is, like, when he runs outs and ins, they are so unbelievably rounded, where I go, okay, first of all, if you're running this and they're asking you to run this in route, right? Even if it's zone, everybody's going to pick up on this and they're going to be like, okay, this guy's not selling anywhere. He's not selling anywhere for me pre-catch. Like, he just runs it. He just runs it in the vein of Treylon Burks. When he does the in routes, it's very similar. It's so rounded, and it gives when he turns, there is no, unless it's a double move, there is no indication of selling at a guy. He never stems at a guy when he does this. So the DBs, they know, okay, I'm closing immediately.
Yes.
Right. And I get it. And it sets up double moves. Fine. But if you're not going to move the chains with those,
doesn't matter.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, okay. And I'm not saying I hate Jahan Dotson to where I don't think he can't be an NFL player. I just think he's probably a 3 in an offense for me. Like, just for me, he's a 3. Like, he's going to be the guy who at 178 pounds, he'll be like, oh, wow, okay, wait a minute. I can expand my strike zone. He can make all these plays for me. Great hands. Catch radius is ginormous for a player of his size. Like, that's awesome. At the catch point, I'm not too concerned, believe it or not, because I don't think he's going to get himself in contested spots. Because if he's winning down the field, he's winning down the field. Like, double move is there. At the line of scrimmage, press erases him. He gets sent, Nate, to the shadow realm against press. To the shadow realm against press.
Please, those in the audience, remember not to take Jake seriously when he says he doesn't hate Jahan Dotson, because
I don't hate him.
Clear.
I don't hate him, but he gets
Jahan Dotson. Hashtag Jake NFL.
Roger McCreary.
Jahan Dotson.
Roger McCreary sent this dude
in the Twitter.
Roger McCreary put this dude in the gulag, the shadow realm, whatever you want to call it, in that game. He put him there. So there's just not, he doesn't create a lot of opportunities for himself on the perimeter, I should say, on the perimeter. In the slot, over the middle, he'll survive contact. He'll go up, get the football, but you're putting him in the slot for me. Anyway.
If you ever want to have a good laugh, head on over to the Draft Network. I noticed this a couple of days ago. Head on over to the Draft Network and read their staff rating, I guess.
Is there like 4?
It's bad.
Again, how about this? I could be stupid. I could be stupid and so wrong about Dotson. He's not going to be for me. I'm sorry. I went too far because I'm not going to be the guy who's the prideful, you're an idiot if you rank him high. That's wrong. I'm just telling you what I see. Like, pre-catch, post-catch, there's not a lot there. Besides like good double moves and speed. At the catch point, I think he does a great job. Like I said, this is a class full of 2s and 3s. I think he's a 3. I think he'd be a very good 3. Like, I get why the Bills want him because they can put him in the slot and you have size and like they're building a basketball team. You have size and Davis, right? Size and speed both in Davis. That's kind of a stretch big build a basketball team. You have your slasher who can score from anywhere in Diggs. And so, like, all right, let's get a home run hitter and a reliable player, right? Oh, Cody, we're going to get to him now. Nate, any more on Dotson before we get to one guy that Cody put? Okay, nothing on Dotson. Nate's like, I don't want Penn State people coming after me.
I'm not saying anything. That was like a 5 or 6 minute slander fest.
It was. I'm sorry.
That was like, keep my wife's name.
I'm sorry.
That's what that's. You just
somebody's watching this. Somebody's gonna go find this and probably clip it. they're going to clip the rant on Dotson when he's a really, really good player. And they'll be like, look at this absolute idiot talking about Jahan Dotson. Anyway.
I want to go Twitter viral.
Anyway. Yeah, Nate might do it.
It'll be great.
He knows where it is. Though. Yeah, Nate, it'll be great. Cody says Wilson 1, London 2. I flirted with putting London at 2 because he's just, again, his vision and understanding of the game is very good. And he can 3-phase it decently well. Olave, Williams, Burks. So there you go. Another variation of the top 5 consensus I love it.
Yeah.
I love that.
2 through 5 is fluid.
Yeah. For me, I like Wilson. And Nate likes
3
Olave.
through 5 is
Nate likes Olave. No, you're good. Dotson's a gadget, but he does have a good nose for the end zone. Yeah, I do. Like I said, he's going to expand like quarterbacks who have like quote unquote accuracy issues or quote unquote I'm facing pressure and I might throw this a little high. Like he's going to help you out. Like he's going to help you out. But like 178 against press not happening. He's not Devonta Smith, so 178 against press is going to be a struggle, and that's just that. Cody says, any thoughts on George Pickens? Funny enough, that's the next guy here.
I have thoughts on George
and
Pickens.
Nate, I'm going to say this is the other guy. This is another guy you can put in your top 5. Yeah. I understand.
He just got to put on some muscle.
And just play consistent ball for me, please.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's the
play
only
some consistent ball.
Get in that NFL shape, which, you're already most of the way there.
He is.
And play more consistently. Don't tail off in the national championship game for all to see. Hey, you won. Yeah.
Okay, I just grabbed my notes. I put like flashes are with anybody in this class is one note I put down for him. And the other, one thing he has, again, like Drake London, leaping ability, positioning himself at the catch point and finishing in the moment of truth is just nutty good when he's asked to do so. And I think the speed is requisite. It's enough. And when there's flashes of this too. If the Packers draft him, we're getting a video, Packers fans, on this. But when he attacks the blind spot, he can do it. Like there's so much flash to his game. I just struggle to put him in my top 5 just based on flat out consistency, and that's the issue for me.
Yep.
I think he's there, man.
He's
so tough post catch too.
Several of my sleepers.
He's again. So I'm going to say
this. Ran through my entire list.
Nate, well, I put a lot of guys on the board before we get to our sleeper. I'm going to say this. He's got almost London's he's got like 50%. He's got London's understanding. I think he does based on how he attacks blind spots and the flashes. And he's got Burke's explosiveness and he's tough to bring down after the catch. Brother, just do it for me more than a few plays a game, brother. And we have the marriage of potentially like Burke's explosiveness with London. It's here, it's there. It's not there all the time. And that's like the last rant I'm going to give on that. Really quick, Nate, John Mechie, any thoughts?
He's a guy that comes from a pedigree, with an Alabama wide receiver core. Guy that's kind of been there, done that now, coming out as a junior. And a guy that I think when he was a freshman, we were looking at like, okay. And I think we've been like there's other guys that have caught our eyes, but this is still a heck of a solid wide receiver. And just a guy that I think is going to do really well if he gets into like a spread system, getting them out in space. Yeah, just a guy that probably runs some screens, takes some shots, playing in the Z or the slot, and
100%.
He's just an impact player. I really think if he's healthy, he's an impact player.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Health hopefully the ACL didn't sap like the wiggle and the short area burst he has after the catch, because he can pick up that yardage, make a man miss a little bit. He's not like long speed where he's going to sustain everything down the field. But if you give him a screen, he can get 8 to 9 in the blink of an eye and do it pretty well. I actually think he can play Z because I think he can handle press, because I've seen the shuffle release. I've seen him do the jab step release where he can get defenders out of their spot and work back inside stem. I think he great lean. And what I mean lean is you're running up your stem and you have a DB on a certain side. You lean at the DB to snap your route off. And the hip sync is there. I think he's actually a technician, Nate, with a little bit of short area burst. Now, is he an X? Absolutely not. He's not an X. He's not Devonta Smith. But I think he's a discount version, Nate, of Chris Olave. And the biggest discount that, unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with is a little bit of hand technique issues. There are some catches that I feel like he should make on film that he does not make.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm a little worried about. And that's why he's not super high for me. But I do think, again, when you can sink your hips, separate like this guy, you can produce a little bit after the catch. He does more after the catch per reception, Nate, than Drake London, Jahan Dotson, Chris Olave. I'm missing somebody else. I think Sky Moore even as well. So he can produce after the catch. Just be a little more consistent with your hands. And when he has to pull this out and track, he just make these plays over the shoulder a little bit more. Get those hands out. Good technique. Finish for me. That's where I'm at with Mechie. How about this guy, Nate? How about Alec Pierce?
Gotta scratch another one off my list.
How about
Not really
Alex?
as a sleeper, but
see, Nate. Sorry, Nate.
I had no idea
Here's
this
the
was
thing.
happening.
Nate
This
Nate
was
goes
not in my script.
when Nate goes pre-show. He goes, "I got a lot of sleepers for you." And Nate unknowingly did not know that we did top 5 wide receivers, and I have all the banners here. I had 6 other receivers ready to go immediately after we talked about our 5. So I don't think I should have probably told them who they were. It's fine though. We're going to get to a few other guys. Nate, I want to hear Nate's thoughts on Alec Pierce. He's not really a scratch off, but you scratched him off, but you clearly have thoughts, which I love to hear.
He's from Illinois. He could have
wide receiver 1.
Yeah, automatic wide receiver. No, he's not. He's a 3. It shouldn't take him a long time to start producing as kind of that big slot receiver or an X, like a fill-in X, in my opinion. But no real scheme restrictions for this one. I think he'll be an interesting watch in the coming years because I think he's more ready now, and I think we'll get to see what the ceiling is. I think if you watch him, I think it was the last game against Notre Dame that they played. He was really good and really fun to watch.
He's pretty good. Hey, I like him. I like Alec Pierce quite a bit. I think there are X physical gifts, size and speed that, and I'll tell you what, I thought the release package was pretty solid. It's not perfect. It's not at a Wilson Mechie.
Hey,
who else level? Sky Moore level. But I'll tell you what, he is good. He wins at the catch point. He gets the football. I'll tell you what, he is no nonsense post catch either. He gets the ball. He knows he's turning directly downfield and attacking hard. So size and speed you can work with. I like him a lot on day 2. I like him a lot. I think this 100, you put this down for the 6 watching at the moment. Put this down as a potential Chris Ballard guy at 42. If they don't go corner or edge, put this guy down for Ballard because I do think there's a chance he's the pick there. Even the Bears at 39 might do it too because he can win down the field and give you a big target zone downfield for Justin Fields. So Braden says he really likes Pierce Nate as well. Use him in so many different ways. Most are good. Yeah. So I'm going to put it. I think Pierce might grade higher than Watson for me. I will say, as Nate quickly deals with something. Mitch, I'll get to this since you put this in the comments. One thing the Packers are going to have to take into consideration is pressure that any wide receiver they bring is going to be under 100%. They need a guy who could take it and won't shrink. I think that Colts might not take edge at 42. That's true. That's very possible. They don't do that. They could go, I guess, quarterback, corner, and I think receiver. Maybe they go left tackle. I just don't like the left tackles that are probably going to be available at 42 anyway. Nate's got a doggo on the screen for you guys.
I have a puppy that has a less than hour attention span.
Yeah, it's fair. But I would put it down. So, yeah, the pressure that any receiver going to Green Bay is going to be under is massive. There's no doubt about it. Devontae Adams, Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, like the pedigree and the Randall Cobb, like all these guys, like I think Burks is somebody who won't shrink. I don't think Olave will shrink at all either. So I like the guys in round 1. I like Pearson Mechie in round 2 for the Packers.
I got the perfect wide receiver for the Packers then.
Do you want to talk about
somebody who's been counted on to do it all? Christian Watson. He's used to being the number 1, right?
Stop it.
I'm just saying.
Okay, if they take him at 28, am I going to be upset? No. But Packers fans better temper expectations. I don't think that's a wide receiver 1.
That's the wide receiver they finally draft in the first round.
No, the wide receiver. No, so
that would make me mad.
If they, what would make me angry is if it's Dotson.
Yeah,
To be
that's
honest with you.
We know you hate him, Jake.
I don't
It's
hate him. But I
okay.
will say this guy's better than him. Sky Moore.
Yes.
I'm gonna talk a little Sky Moore, folks.
He's the like local hot to trot wide receiver candidate that everybody's starting to love.
Yeah, I mean,
You've talked about him before. I will give
I've
you
talked
that.
about him so much. I think he's fantastic. There's a video on him on this channel. If you guys haven't seen it yet, I would encourage you to check it out. I think he's fabulous. And so, like, here's the issue is somebody brought him up in like the level of competition argument with Sky Moore. I think that's a little bit unfounded to me. He beat Michigan DBs. He beat Pittsburgh DBs. Pittsburgh DBs are good. I don't think people understand how good Pittsburgh DBs are. Like Dane Jackson was an undersized guy a couple of years ago. He's playing nickel for the Bills because he's good enough to do so. Damari Mathis is a good corner in this class. Like I feel like these Pitt guys are technically advanced. They're savvy. They get to put them out on an island a lot, and they do really well a lot. Sky Moore made them look foolish all day because he's subtle with his release, but he varies it up. The variations are so subtle and they're so good. He gets out quickly. He's explosive. He'll flash some catch point wins for you. Post catch is good. Efficient turns, efficient breaks. Love him. He is good. He is. If Olave's always open, Sky Moore is open from 6 a.m. to 3 a.m. Okay. If Chris Olave is a 24-hour, Jahan Dotson, no. Sky Moore is like a 21-hour pharmacy or something like that. He's nearly always open. And he does have an experience at the position. He's not like this, and he's a junior, still young. Oh.
If you want to make him sound younger, you could say a redshirt sophomore. Oh no, never mind. Yeah.
You could say that. It does sound younger than junior.
Technically, if he gets another year, yeah. So, which I mean, the quarantine year, the COVID
Anything
year.
You got on Sky Moore, Nate?
Just a guy that you can count on to be a high volume. I feel like guy that can be an early target, big play guy. It'd be interesting to kind of watch. I've heard some comparisons to Sterling Shepard recently of Giants allure. But yeah, the guy who was, recruited for his athleticism and his ability as a two-way guy too, so playing quarterback and defensive back. Just the guy that I think the Sky, you could finish that sentence. Y'all know what I'm going to say.
It might be the limit.
Yep.
I changed. There's no limits to his game. He's just that dude.
So would you say the Sky is not the limit? And that he needs to brand that.
He needs to brand something really good because he could. If he's the Chiefs pick at like 29 or 30, heck yes. Oh man, that's gonna be great. He's got great hands too, by the way. Great hands. Another like 3-phase guy who, again, post catch, I think he's aware. He's spatially aware post catch. He's not like this insanely wiggly guy, but he's got good burst post catch and he attacks. Love Sky Moore. Nate, do you have are there any other sleepers that we haven't covered for you that there are? Excellent.
I have 2.
Okay, let's talk some sleepers here at the position. Yeah, Braden, I'm telling you right now, if the buzz is there for him at 29 or 30, that's amazing for the Chiefs. I love that so much. I like it over Watson and I like it over Dotson. Both.
Okay, so
both have been mocked there, but I do like that better. All right, Nate, let's hit it.
Okay. Do you want to just do 1-1? What do you want?
Do them all. Do your sleepers because
do all 3.
All 3? Sure.
Oh, okay. I'll just do.
No.
Okay. Anyway, what if they're not ranked in any particular order, but just guys that I think are really fascinating. The first one's Tay Barber out of TCU. I think he's a super intriguing guy with, like, honestly, not that much experience as a wide receiver. He was a quarterback and running back in high school, and ended up still being the number 8 athlete in his class out of Texas. And just a guy that you can put out in the slot. I really think he might just only be there, but I think he might be really good at it. Just a guy that's got a lot of speed and agility, good instincts. Somebody that I've been a fan of watching. He's a little small, 5'9", but he's kind of built up, 185.
There you go. That's not somebody I really like. There you go. Not somebody I had, but
Melton is a pretty quick shout out.
what you
Rutgers
got?
guy.
Oh, Bo Melton. Yes.
Number one wide receiver at Rutgers, and a season record holder of any kind at Rutgers is hard to do
I
because
love him.
they do not pass the ball. And when they do,
probably
don't have a great quarterback situation throwing it to you, to be honest with you.
Fair.
But a guy that I think has a lot of upside if he can kind of crack into an offense. I'm working my way kind of up, but the last one is Tyquan Thornton out of Baylor. Raw speed and a guy where the speed translates onto the tape, which is a kind of something you don't see that much. I've seen him. He's getting a little slept on in my opinion, which I think makes him just perfect for this. Huge amounts of big playability if that's, something you value. But I think his big con that most people say and that I would say as well is that if he tries to run under a table, he's going to kick the table. He can't bend his
Hey, send you deep situationally.
Yeah,
we're golden because I think again he's longer too. Frame isn't huge, but he's long enough. Make some catches out the frame, expand the target zone for you. I like that. I do like Bo Melton a lot. Tough guy, smooth guy, crisp route guy. Great, really nice player overall. Did a video on Kyle Phillips on the channel recently. If you haven't seen it, you should go see it. He's another slot guy who I like because he blocks his absolute tail off. Like, Nate, if you haven't seen the video yet, there are a couple parts where you might want to close your eyes because there's some LSU defenders who end up on the turf. I don't know if you've seen it yet. I don't know if you've seen the video yet. But it happens. But again, another guy who's a great understanding of leverage, where to attack, and I love the release game. Again, at the catch point, very much a body catcher. There's some inconsistencies there, but a guy who can be tough and be on a roster, I think, is Kyle Phillips. I love that you brought up Thornton because, again, that's the track dude who blew our minds in the 40. Those I like a lot. Any thoughts, Nate, where we're at with David Bell?
David Bell. He's a guy that I feel like I saw just come up so much more often earlier on in this process.
Well, it's because
I feel like he's tailed off a lot.
Well, Nate, I'll tell you why. Is he tested like an 8th percentile athlete?
Yeah.
That's mostly why. Oh no, it's not 8th percentile. How rude of me. I'm sorry. 27th percentile athlete.
I like his versatility. I think he could play second or third string X. High floor, high ceiling for me. He could probably crack into being, I don't think he's a number one receiver, but probably that number 2 guy every roster really needs. Super good football IQ, perimeter wide receiver, pretty effective in the short range, but got some issues. I think we're just forgetting about him a little bit.
I think so.
We tend to do that with a couple different prospects a year.
I think that's fair.
But in a class where literally 1 to 7 or 8 is so up in the air, it's hard to know. It's hard to pay attention to everybody, and somebody's going to slide under the radar.
I think like 10 to 25 is like a lot of jumbling.
Yeah.
So with Bell, right? So 4.65, I don't care. Don't care about the 4.65. I'm not worried about that. No. What concerns me a little bit is with him, he's got to be technical, which I think he is, which is good. Reliable hands, can make those big plays for you. Like, the build-up speed's not bad at all. The question for me is, functionally as an athlete, in the short area, there just is not much there. Like, I feel like when you see some of these guys sink into routes and work out, they've got some burst. There's some real juice when they plant and go. Bell just doesn't have that. Even if it's double moves or it's winning the comebacks, it's just the functional athleticism is a concern. That's why I like him as power slot, because he can block his butt off. He's tough. He'll handle it over the middle of the field, no problem. Like, that's a slot guy who can be extremely productive, outplay draft position, all that stuff.
And teams value that a lot. Like, look at a guy like Traquan Smith, who has re-signed this year because he is a blocker. Like, he is out there, knows the plan. Guys like David Bell are well used.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like there'll be a role for Bell. It's just like, I think we kind of got out of our shoes because he had 2, albeit incredible performances against top 3 teams in the country. Scheme, fit, and need. It all comes down to it. Yeah, I think for a lot of these receivers, that's what it's going to come down to. But again, that's kind of why, if we're evaluating these guys, we want to understand and you got to pick stuff out that and the truly great evaluators do this. They'll pick guys out of that 22 and they'll be like, I'm going to get 2 impact players. And when they do that, that's again where you get these great GMs, great scouts that continue to work up the ladder. There's a few other guys, Nate, really quick before we sign off. I want to talk about Romeo Dubs really quick, Nate.
Dubs.
Dubs. Do you know it's Dubs?
Like we said, if it's Dubs or if it's Dubs and he hasn't started saying Dubs, he's missing out on marketing. 100%.
So for me, Nate, he reminds me of De'Ami Brown last year.
Yeah.
Because I think he wins quick. You can win he can win the slant game really well. I love that about him. And he can win deep. And that's kind of what De'Ami Brown's big strengths were last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's done better than Brown in a sense of attacking the catch point better. He's got the bigger frame. But again, I like him as a deep threat, reliable type player who, again, is a mid 4.4s type, 6'2", 200, bigger guy who can win downfield. Those are usually, types that you bet on in the middle rounds.
Yeah. Guy with really sudden speed. Give him a hitch, give him a smoke, bubble screen, and let him do work. He'll make a big play for himself, when it's thrown to him, in my opinion. I'm excited about him. I think there are some things that I don't know. Like people, I guess I wanted to phrase it like this. There's a lot of talk about him just as a blocker, and that's like kind of where he's going to be. He's like a stock blocker who can kind of swing out into a little route and maybe be a second or third target. But still, there's a need for that.
Yeah, absolutely. There is 100%. Really quick, I want to talk about, and we're just going to roll through these names late because I didn't know how many sleepers we're going to get to. Khalil Shakir. The one thing I think that holds him back is the explosiveness, short area, long speed, like that type of thing is going to limit him a little bit. But another guy who I think is good technically. Yes, Braden, we're going to get to that guy as well. I put him on the list. Shakir for me is a guy like post catch, Nate. He turns into like this Alvin Kamara where it's like the balance is just utterly stupid and he's got a good lateral toolbox. So I like what he does post catch, reliable hands, makes some great catches. He made some highlight reel catches and he can attack leverage. This is probably the guy to bet on in the slot, really, just because of what his skill set is. Like this is a guy I like betting on in the slot, a la David Bell. Any thoughts on Shakir, Nate?
Super proactive athlete, in my opinion. I haven't watched him, but from what I know, good enough run after catch ability.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to learn how to really leverage and to get the ball. I think that's probably my biggest. I'd have to open up my more detailed document. But
no, we'll get there because I have a feeling, Nate, on our draft show on day 2, he might come off the board because he's another younger guy, I believe.
Yep.
22. Am I correct? Braden asked about, Cody asked this really quick. Over under 5.5 receivers draft in the first round, taking over under.
Under.
I'm going to go over, actually. Nate, any thought process with under? Do you think those 5 guys are the guys and that's...
I just think that's a big number. I don't even think all 5 guys are guaranteed to go on the first day. I really don't.
Fair. Yeah, Mitch made a good point here too. It should be probably under based on what we know about these guys and evaluating them. But here's the thing about it and the over under. If the Falcons go early and they make that move at receiver at 8, all bets are off. All bets are off. Because this is what we know. We know that again, Atlanta's discussed as picking a receiver. Nate. We know this. Atlanta, people have mocked receivers there. Atlanta fans don't like that, but they have, and the receiver room is bad right now. So it's a possibility. Jets at 10. If they like London as much as what's being reported, that's your basketball team then. There's your basketball team for the Jets. You have Corey Davis, technician, Elijah Moore, do it all, speed, Drake London, the maestro of the catch point. The Vikings are the wild card. If Ahmad Gardner's off the board, maybe they don't like Stingley, even though everybody mocks Stingley there. Maybe they don't like him. and they want to see that fall. Do they just say, you know what, Adam Thielen's getting older, let's just draft Jameson? Let's just draft Jameson, or let's just draft Wilson, or let's just draft Olave. The Washington Commanders could draft Olave. Yeah. Wouldn't bat an eye. What are they going to do at 11 if Gardner's off the board? Are they taking Stingley? They might get Hamilton. But if they don't, who are they taking? Like, receiver feels like where people are leaning. The Eagles, they could take one. Fill out your basketball team, as we've talked about. London, Burks, one of those guys might fill the room out. Mm-hmm. Chargers at 17. If it's not tackle, it's probably receiver. I don't know if they're going to take one of the linebackers, even though they need one. Saints? What do you think, Nate?
Will not draft a wide receiver.
You don't think they're going to do it at 18? No. You're guaranteed no. Okay. Then it'll be interesting, because if Cross is off the board, that means they might be reaching at a old tackle position.
That's pretty much the idea. It's either going to be a tackle or it will be another defensive lineman that can work under this current one, because the defense is nasty. The offense, it could be really good. It could be really bad. And if you want to play with your strength, then you play with the defense. Dennis Allen's a defensive head coach. He thinks this wide receiver group is deep, as I think all of us do. And I think you draft wide receiver here, but at what expense based on the other classes that we've called deep repeatedly? Jake's silence agrees with me. That's what that means. That's it. He doesn't get to tell me. Nope. Mm-mm. Anyway, I'll stall for time. Let's talk. I can see the comments, but nope, can't hear you.
We're good.
There we go. Now I heard you.
So no to the Saints, Packers, Bills, Titans, Chiefs.
I don't think the Chiefs. I think the
Jaguars or somebody moving up into the first to get one before the Jaguars or Lions do it in 33-34. I think there's so many avenues to where these guys, like if teams like Pickens or teams like Watson or teams like Moore, like they might take them. So sorry about that issue with the mic, everybody. But yeah, that's I kind of lean over. Braden asks, have you watched Wan'Dale Robinson at all, and what the ceiling is for him? I actually put Wan'Dale Robinson.
Wan'Dale yet?
Wan'Dale Robinson, Calvin Austin III, I think are in very similar situations. I think Wan'Dale Robinson tracks it well and does more at the catch point than Calvin Austin does. I think he's the guy who can go make a play outside and go low or reach out and make a play like that, contort the body around, and he has the speed. Calvin Austin's the better route running version of the two, but the ceiling for Robinson, I don't think what the ceiling for Robinson is. That's not saying that like he's just a better version of Mecole Hardman, because I feel like that's probably where I'm going to lean. I think he's a better version of Mecole after catch and at catch. So I think the ceiling there is he's a better decoy gadget type than Hardman is, in my opinion. So that's where I'm at with Wan'Dale Robinson.
Impactful weapon. I don't know if it'll be much more than that. I think that's
kind of
that's what you can kind of expect. Get him the ball like Kentucky did in a lot of different ways, and you'll probably prosper at least a couple times with him.
Yep, for sure. I think that's kind of all I had for guys. If you guys have real quick questions on any other prospects, I know Eric Ezukanma is somebody else I wrote down just because he's a tree. He's like 6'2", 210, and he just goes up in high points of football. So I'm digging that. But other than that, I really didn't have too much other receiver. I think we covered like 17 guys. I think something like that, maybe.
Sorry if you can hear my dog going insane.
Yeah, the dogs are going to go a little insane, but that's okay. I mean, listen, this is live. This is unfiltered. You got to hear a rant about Dotson. My mic came unplugged. We did a lot of things.
Plus, like you can't complain about live TV because look, you get to see a puppy.
Yeah, you get to see puppers. So why would you not want that? Anybody got any other questions? Throw them down. Austin's fast and he gets open. 100% agree. Austin is fast and he does get it. But I do think Wan'Dale's better catch radius, catch point guy. Any other questions? Otherwise, we are going to call it an evening because Nate's got a guest in the apartment. So
I'll leave you with one more name.
Ooh, Nate gets one more. Hit me.
Is it Dijon or Dejon Dixon?
Oh,
From Nichols.
that is a great
Louisiana.
question, Nate. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
We'll discuss it. I'll research.
Dijon?
I'll find out.
Yeah, Nichols State. Yeah, I got you.
I'll find it. I think he's a guy that started to kind of creep up in some ways, and is just going to be somebody that's really interesting to check out. You know, an experienced guy. He's got the physical tools at 6'3". I had to look up his weight, 205.
Yep.
Just a late round guy that you might see eventually.
Yeah. RisenDraft.com has a great database with all the heights and weights and everything like that. You should check that out. Yeah, love that. Velas Jones Jr. is the one guy I thought with the 4.3 speed post catch, and he's going to be a special teamer guy who sticks on a roster. Is what I had for him. Braden says, quick, only 3 receivers, realistic Chiefs in round 1 is Olave, Sky Moore, or Pickens if they don't trade up. Yeah,
I think Pickens makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Braden, I'm going to be done mocking Dotson to the Chiefs then. So thanks for that nugget. I appreciate it. It's going to be Sky Moore now instead. Oh, what kind of dog is it, Nate, that you were holding?
So it's a Great Pyrenees, and I think pit mix. We don't really know. Some kind of mutt. Its mother is definitely purebred Great Pyrenees.
There you go.
But we don't know.
Oh, other thing. Slade Bolden,
He's a cute
Patriots.
puppy. That's all I know.
Yeah, he is cute. Slade Bolden, Patriots.
Write it in.
Just a write-in. Just
Really?
put in a pen. As I don't remember who does Sharpie for the tournament, but that's exactly what that is. So put him in for Sharpie. I do. The one thing on Wandell I will mention, Nate, he turned 21 in January. So it's another younger guy that can unlock more ceiling. So I do think that's interesting. Something we'll talk about. Obviously, George Pickens turned 21.
I'm just wondering,
George Pickens turned 21 exactly a month ago.
With the lower, not lower tier guys, but the 7 to 20, whatever. Yeah. I'm just wondering how much that age will come into play, because a lot of what that 7 to 20 is guys that have the ability but need some grooming.
Yeah. Okay. So some teams will have that guardrail. The Browns are one of them. If the Browns go receiver in round 2, I can promise you guys it's probably going to be somebody like Mechie. Or I don't think it'll be Wandell because he's just not big enough. I do think Mechie could be in play for the Browns. Shakir only just turned 22, so that's somebody on on round 3 for the Browns. Dubs hasn't turned 22. That's somebody for the Browns.
That's insane to me.
Yeah, Romeo Dubs has not turned 22. At least the DOB I have here is he is 22 in 12 days. So he's still 21, so still relatively young player. So last one. Any wide receiver you think the league would shockingly take in round 1 that we are not expecting?
I wouldn't be shocked to see any of these top 9 go. That's the bad thing.
Yeah, is Pierce shocking? That's the only thing. If Pierce is shocking, then I guess Pierce, because I feel like Sky Moore, Watson, and Pickens are the 3 after that are not shocking at all.
Mm-hmm.
I guess here's what I'll say. Calvin Austin, why not? Yeah. Someone took Tutu Atwell in the second last year. Why not Calvin Austin the first? I don't know. Sounds so stupid.
I think a guy that could go, another guy that we haven't mentioned that could go earlier. I don't think day 1. Maybe day 2 is Trey Turner. One of the guys that has a lot of potential but had awful quarterbacks for the majority of his time.
100% true.
And still a top 5 historical receiver at the school. So,
yeah. So,
granted, it's Virginia Tech. But
if we're expanding it to earlier than we think, I think Jalen Tolbert, from what I hear, is going earlier than we think he is from South Alabama. Still, a 6'1" and 7/8", I'm pretty sure, is the official. He's 195. Vertical threat, kind of good adjuster at catch point. Again, the functional burst and athleticism through breaks is not something I was very impressed by, but apparently the league likes him a lot. So that's a guy who could go earlier than expecting. If you have Alec Pierce and you're like, yes, we're getting him round 3, you're not. I'm going to be honest. You aren't getting him in the 3rd. You can grade him as a round 3 guy. I'm telling you, he fits both Ballard and the Packers, both of them. If the Packers have not addressed receiver at all, they might move up into 40s for Pierce. If the Bears like size speed and they like, okay, we got our X, we got Mooney, they might take him at 39. Like I said, Ballard, that's his guy. Senior Bowl, size, speed. All of those check the boxes for Ballard. That's a guy at 42, 100%. So if you have Alec Pierce, if you're making a mock draft and you want to be predictive and you want to be on that, like, whatever that accuracy thing is, put Pierce higher than you think, probably. Mechie could go higher. Like I said, Browns at 44, I think 44. Pretty sure is where. Yeah, they're at 44 behind the Falcons at 40. Yeah, Browns at 44 wouldn't shock me at all. He's young. He's a talented player.
Imagine if you see Justin Ross go early.
I wouldn't rule it out. Here's my thing, Nate. So here's a really quick scenario as we close. You're the Jaguars, right? You take Hutchinson in the 1st. In the 2nd round, you're like, you know what? We probably should get O-line help. Let's go like Kenyon Green, 2nd round. I think Kenyon Green might be there. Or we're going to get another corner. Or we like, safety. Something like that. Round 3 rolls around. Justin Ross on the board. Trevor Lawrence says, hey, listen.
Yeah.
Trent, Mr. Balky.
Would you like to keep me
happy? I like this guy. You got chemistry.
Yeah.
You haven't added a lot of size to my wide receiver room. Here he is, right here.
Well, and to that point, how important has that been in the situation of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase?
100%.
It's been so important.
100%.
And they've been pretty good, along the way. They've been excellent as a duo, but the whole team pretty good. Trevor Lawrence not really getting a whole lot. You want to make that man happy, bring him his friend.
If they don't take Pickens top round 2, Lawrence will probably be in their ear, and he should be in their ear. Like I said, Mac Jones should be in the ear. He should be in the ear of New England. He's like, listen, guys, Bill, I know you like to draft defense on one. I know you just traded a guard. Listen, if Jamison Williams is here at 21, or if you can get Mechie in the 2nd, who he's played with, why would you not listen? Why would you not listen to your quarterback? You got to listen to your quarterback. We all ripped the Bengals to shreds pretty much for taking Chase, even though Chase was a really, really good player. But Joe Burrow wanted him. Look at that. Joe Burrow was right. Crazy concept.
It's always right.
You got a young quarterback who's played with some of these guys. Justin Fields. Nate, really quick before we finish. Bears, you have 39 and 48. Chris Olave drops in the 20s. Go get him. If Fields wants you, go get him. Like that's the last thing I want to talk with receivers. Pair them with some quarterbacks with familiarity. And that's a good thing. All right. Lions and Jags should trade down. We're going to have a show, don't worry, next week for sure. We're going to talk position, and we may get into some more team stuff if you want to ask questions of the team stuff. Yeah. So, great show tonight. We had a lot of fun. The receiver position is a great position to talk about.
It's a fun position. Even though I'm terrible at scouting them, I love the position.
You saw how excited I was all throughout this thing, right? When we get to offensive line, Nate's going to turn into me.
That's true, yeah.
And I'm going to be the more reserved back, kind of just like chilling guy during it. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight. We had a lot of fun with it. Throw that like button down. Hit that like button if you can. That'd be really nice down there, YouTube folks. That would be so great. Subscribe if you're new as well. I want to push for 1K by the draft. It's a crazy thing. It's a crazy ask. Let's try it. But yeah, a lot more coming. We got more live shows. We might do a little bit more. We try to sneak in a couple more than a weekly.
Yeah.
Could be just kind of when we decide it. Could be right in the middle of the moment. So you gotta stick with us. And for those who are still here, Thursday and Friday the draft, 28th and the 29th. We're gonna be right here, chilling. It's gonna be really relaxed. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I have more graphics this time. More graphics for you.
More graphics, more shenanigans from my end because that is what I'm good at.
And guests.
Yeah, and probably some really good guests.
We're going to have some fun games too. Trust me. We're going to have some fun games. We're going to have some fun, the cliche stuff that happens during the draft. We have some ideas of us.
Is this the year where we incorporate a drinking game to the draft? Is that what I'm hearing? That's what I heard right here. So
I kind of think we do, and I have something for us.
Okay.
In the works in my mind that we mess up a name, or we say Washington football team, or we're not really saying San Diego Chargers, but if we mess up, we want people to catch us. What if I say the Jets pick at 9? That's wrong. You should tell me. Tell me I'm wrong. And the person who's most wrong is going to do like a one chip or something. It'll be a fun time. It'll be a fun time. So join us there. Make sure you subscribe with the bell on, and you'll be notified when we go. Nate, any thoughts as we close tonight? And we move on, and we'll get to next week. It's 1 week closer to the draft. It's 1 day closer. We're excited.
Yep, I have one thing to close this out.
Okay.
April Fools, this whole show was a joke.
Yeah, it's true. Jahan Dotson's actually wide receiver.
Number one across the board.
Pranked you. Right now it's in the past, and get quarterbacks familiarity at receiver, by the way. That's all I got for you guys. We will see you guys next Thursday. I'm thinking it's O-line, Nate. What do you think?
Yeah, I think
it's O-line next Thursday, so be on the lookout for that. We'll be doing that next Thursday, offensive line. We will catch you guys in the next one. We thought we were going to go an hour, Nate. We went an hour and a half. That's my bad. We got to figure it out. We go a long time. But if you guys enjoy it, and you want to see us go a long time, we'll be going 4 hours plus on Thursday, Friday of the draft. So
yes,
we appreciate you guys a ton.
Just great.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us on Friday night. So we will catch you guys very soon.